The bigger an action we take without God, the bigger the consequences it can have. And the sooner we actually take our issues to God, the less damage we will cause.
Welcome to the Bible in 1 Year podcast, brought to you by two Brits and the Bible.
Today is day 252, covering Ezekiel 31, 32 and 33.
Okay, we're getting close, we're getting tight, so let's do this.
All right. 3,
2, 1.
Nice.
On.
Is that even then?
No, I think that puts us within one. I think it's like 14, 13, something like that, what we've set up there. Yeah. So, yeah, this is, I'm enjoying it, man. It's getting interesting. All right, so into Ezi 31 and 31, 10 and 11. And it's talking here about Pharaoh fell as a cedar of Lebanon. And it's saying, God is saying in verse 9, like, I made you beautiful with your abundant branches, the envy of all the trees of Eden. Therefore, this is what the sovereign Lord says, because the great cedar towered over the thick foliage, and because it was proud of its height, I gave it into the hands of the ruler of the nations. And it was just basically remember where your success comes from. Because even we were saying yesterday about how God can reward non-Christians for doing work that he sort of ordains or whatever, but we still need to be remembering where we've come from and sort of stay humble in that, because it's God that's made us the way we are. It's God that's brought about our success. Don't get proud of your own height. God has set you at that height. So just continue to offer it back to him.
Yeah, and again, it's just God working in through Rochambeau, because you said something way better than what I was going to say. All I was going to say links to what I said yesterday, really, that pride, by a lot of people believe pride is the deadliest of all of the sins, right? And it links to Lucifer and everything I said yesterday. So good stuff, man. And I got to just throw in there, it's funny when it talks about someone being proud of their height, because through our teenage years, Adam's, what, 6'2", 6'3"?
Thereabouts.
And I'm 5'10", and so he was often proud of his height.
But you were so much taller than me for such a long time. I was a late sprouter.
Yes, you were. And then you did. You were a mustard seed. But it's just funny. Like, obviously, it's just banter, but it's just very funny. So I was 5'10" when I was about 11, and everyone else was about 4 foot. And then
with a thick beard.
Yeah, I was 5'10" with a thick beard at about 11 or 12. Anyways, yeah, really good point, man. So I am into 32 verse 2, if that's all right. I think we've got quite a lot to go through.
Yeah.
So, Son of Man, we've talked about how cool a catchphrase or a nickname that is.
Yeah.
Take up lament concerning Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and say to him, you are like a lion among the nations. You're like a monster in the seas, thrashing about in your streams, churning the water with your feet and muddying the streams. So something that I thought was kind of cool from that is the bigger an action we take without God, the bigger the consequences it can have. And the sooner we actually take our issues to God, the less damage we will cause. So the idea he's like a lion or a monster, as Pharaoh, his ideas, his actions have huge consequences, and they murky the water for a lot of people, right? And so there's this need, even more so for someone in power, if possible, if they're a Christian, to immediately take these things to God. And that's wisdom.
And that's good.
Awesome.
I've realized so often I go to say that's good, but you're still making your point. And by the time you're finished, I'm focusing more on what I want to say next and forgetting I need to have said that's good. So there should be about 1,000 that's good that I'm not going to, because I can't be bothered. They should pop up there because of all the that's good that I've forgotten I was going to that's good in the past. For the sake of me talking, I apologize.
All good, my friend, all good.
So Ezi 32. 12 to 15, this is then chatting specifically about the fall of Egypt. And I was just curious about the terminology, because throughout this, it's saying, I will cause your hordes to fall. I will destroy all her cattle when I make Egypt desolate, when I strike down all who live there. And it's this very definitive terminology of when this is going to happen, and I am going to do this. And I think you mentioned it previously when he's talking about wiping out sort of Israel and stuff like that. He always gives a way out. That is, if you're in the city, but you have a choice to escape, you have a choice and you have the opportunity to save yourself. Whereas this seems like a very definitive, no, I'm going to do this when it's going to happen, without that slight hint of salvation that's going to come.
Right. Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Yeah. Couldn't agree more. I'm trying to think who should go next. I think my next point's in 33, though, honestly. So I think you should crack on, old Bean.
Right. So then 37, 17 to 32.
32, 17.
Something like I've got a long way. 32, 17 to 32. And I just wrote sort of this whole section is really quite interesting because it's all talking about Egypt's descent into the realm of the dead. And essentially it just keeps talking about various leaders and how they went to uncircumcised, killed by the sword. They were laid to rest with their swords and their shield. And it just keeps listing various different people. Princes of the north, the Sidonians, Edom is there, Pharaoh be broken, Meshech and Tubal are there, Elam is there, Assyria is there, all this thing. And pretty much what it's saying is like, we're all going to live how we live. We're all going to die how we die. But that is entirely meaningless because it's what's coming after that is going to be the key point. We've mentioned this a lot in the last few days, really. It doesn't matter how you spend your days on this earth, as long as you are doing the one important thing, which is living in relationship with God and as Jesus is your Lord and Savior.
And that's good. Absolutely right, man. Absolutely right. Love that. Very quickly, just within those passages, 32 verse 28, it talks about how Pharaoh too will be broken and killed by the sword. So just worldly status means nothing to God, which adds to what you're saying. Nothing really matters apart from getting in relationship to him. So Eze 33 verse 4, then if anyone hears the trumpet but does not heed the warning and the sword comes and takes their life, their blood will be on their own head. So much like the gospel, if you've heard it, understood it, and then rejected it, there is no saving you until you change your mind. It's that simple, really. And one thing I do take some comfort in, and I say this with all respect, Adam, is because you were one of the people trying to tell me the gospel growing up. I didn't get it, man. I really didn't get it. I hadn't heard it. I hadn't understood it. And I hadn't fully rejected it because when I said I'm not a Christian, I really didn't know. And don't worry, you didn't drop the ball with me when we were growing up. But yeah, that's such a dad joke, and I'm not even a dad. But anyway, yeah. If you have read it or understood it and you've rejected it, and you've really understood it, but you've rejected it, much like these people, there's no saving you unless you change your mind.
Yeah, because this is referencing the duty, the responsibility of a watchman, that they sit and they sound the trumpet. And it goes back to what we were saying a couple of weeks ago now, I think it was, where if you've not shared the word to other people and they've died, it's on your head. But if you've told them about it and they've chosen not to follow it, it's on their head. It's basically like that with Ezekiel. He is the watchman here. He's supposed to be sounding the trumpet. If he hadn't done that, their blood would be on his head for not actually trying to do his part. But because he has, it's down to those who haven't heard it and chosen not to obey it in it.
In it. All right. You got to go for 33, 31. It's got to happen.
33, 31. So, my people come to you as they usually do, and they sit before you, hear your words, but they do not put them into practice. Their mouths speak of love, but their hearts are greedy for unjust gain. And I think this is just so true of society. It's like we will want to hear an uplifting message, but we're so reluctant to put it into practice. Like, you can watch all the fitness videos in the world. If you don't actually get off your ass and start exercising and dieting, it's not going to make any difference.
Right.
Actually, I remember there was a dude who I was training for a company I worked for years ago, and he watched all the sales videos, read all the sales books, but he just didn't actually do anything. And basically I told him, it's like you're gathering all these puzzle pieces, but you're not putting the puzzle together. Like, if you actually start putting it into action, it's going to be useless and pointless. So yeah. And
love that.
I'm kind of the same way, to be honest. I don't like reading big in-depth books because I like to take a small point and apply it rather than read so much and be so overwhelmed by it.
Yeah, no, that's good, man. That's seriously good. And roughly what I was going to say, just one thing I'll add is just remember that the Bible isn't just a book, it's also a manual. So if you read it and learn from it, you will actually improve and enrich your life in ways you can't even imagine. But that's all we got time for today. And much like Adam didn't give me time to speak yesterday, today it's going to be the other way around. Ezekiel 34 to 36 tomorrow. Get reading at 2 Brits in the Bible.